is recognized here by the Center for American Progress, and I think is also understood by all of today's panelists and appreciated by everybody here, is that whenever a worker is out of work, they deserve to get assistance in job training and whatever education is necessary so they can secure a job. I don't think that's a proposition that is debatable on that, but whatever employment they get has to be sustainable for them, for their family, and for the community. Interestingly enough, in Massachusetts, we always used to have the debate of those who just wanted to get people to work, just throw them out there and get them to do anything, no matter how much they get paid or what the support package and benefits were, and others who felt quite differently about that, and the others who felt quite differently were, in fact, the business people. You know, it doesn't do them any good to have somebody just set out and thrown out into the job market if they can't take care of their jobs. If they can't have the technical capacity and the abilities to get in and do the more advanced jobs that Massachusetts industry is putting out there all the time. So they were our biggest advocates for doing a really comprehensive workforce approach, and I think that's taken off and gone right throughout the country. We all understand that that's necessary. Now, Mr. Soros' contribution is certainly welcomed, and we thank you for your work in this area. Our current system makes a valiant effort to do the work on that, and you argue, of course, that it may be too focused on sort of the emergency aspect of that, and that we have to take a longer term planning on that. And I think that's well-received information and thought on that. There's merit to that proposition. I mean, Bob Rice used to go around telling us all the time that, you know, this shouldn't be a system of unemployment, it should be a system of reemployment. You know, I see the nodding heads out there, but he still remembers Bob's mantra from when he was the Secretary of Labor. But I've had early conversations, as has Jane and others, on this with a whole host of people that will be interested parties as we talk about reauthorizing the Workforce Investment Act. And I think generally people think, look, if you're displaced from a job, it doesn't matter how you got displaced from a job, whether the auto industry went out because of hard economic times, whether your job was outsourced, whether you work for a small business and your employer retired or passed away, whatever it might be, you're out of a job. You are out of a job. You still need support to sustain your family, you need health care, you need some capacity to identify where the jobs are that most closely approximate the skill set of the education level that you have, and then a way to transition your skills and education over to make you a viable candidate for that job. And this is the process that we need to go through on, and I think that that's going to be one overriding thing. The other is you need to have some parity to this thing. However you're out of work, you don't deserve less unemployment compensation and less health care and less training because of the nature of your displacement. So we have to work through those issues on any bill, and a good system is going to provide that displaced worker with all of those things that are necessary no matter the cause. We also have to, I think, take a look. There's going to have to be some emergency aspect to this. It's some sort of SWAT team approach on certain occasions. I'll give you a little anecdote of what happened recently, and I'll tell you how it ties into workforce investment in a minute. We have a $639 billion defense budget. $639 billion. Now, everybody wants national security. The fact of the matter is, though, that I asked the Government Accountability Office to do a study on the weapon systems that we have in the Department of Defense. They looked at just 73 systems. And of those 73 systems, they found out that collectively they were $296 billion over budget, and on average between 3 and 30 years behind schedule. They also found that a number of those programs were absolutely essential, and so that we had to overcome those problems and find a way to get them on track. They found some programs were not essential at all, in fact should be terminated because they no longer really fit into the national security picture that we have for this country. And they found that some were just simply not a priority. They could be put off for a later date because we have more pressing needs either within the national security structure or elsewhere. How does this become relevant to our conversation? Well, when you start to say that you want to eliminate those that the administration and the Department of Defense and the particular service all think are no longer necessary and that money should be put somewhere else, you think that makes sense. It's common sense. But when you do it, you find out there's a whole constituency out there for the jobs that are related. Because people do need to work, and there is a devastating effect if the system is shut down is in your neighborhood. So while it seems common sense that you would vote to eliminate it, when you do that, you suffer a consequence of having jobs. We had the kinetic energy interceptor yesterday, an $80 million situation on that. It lost in the vote to eliminate it, even though the Missile Defense Agency didn't want it, the Bush administration didn't want it, the Obama administration didn't want it, the House Armed Services Committee didn't authorize it, the Senate Armed Services Committee didn't authorize it, yet you got $80 million. That was, I think, because people thought that it was jobs, Northrop Grumman and others on that. Yeah, 22, when the president made a specific point about having that money taken out, millions and millions of dollars. It did get voted out, but there was immediate apoplexy in a lot of communities, Connecticut and others, for the loss of thousands of jobs. Because we don't have a policy in this country for keeping people at work, or if they get displaced, put them back that makes them comfortable on that. Our only industrial policy seems to be defense projects in that nature. And that can't be. So as well as when people lose their job in the auto industry or because technology is changing or something of that nature, when you have to make decisions like that for the good of the country and your national security, there ought to be a way that that work understands that somebody is going to have a system where you come in, you say, how are we going to put these facilities back to work doing something productive? How are we going to take these people and get them back into the workforce in something productive? And if it happens to be a civilian job, of course, there'll be more of them with that same investment of dollars than there would be in a defense job. But one way or the other, we have to have that in place, and how are you going to sustain them between the transition periods? Right? And that's an emergency aspect on that. But even over and above that, we need a system that looks and says, whether you're an at-risk youth or you're an adult who needs basic adult services, all those you also need to have a system in place for you. And that system is going to be one that has to start to utilize all of the different things that we have been compartmentalizing, putting in silos. Education over here, the Secondary Education Act, you've got the IDEA, you've got the Perkins Act, all over there. Then you have your TANF, then you have your work credit, and you have all of those different things. You're going to find a way that there's flexibility to utilize all of those so that there's a seamless and efficient way to transition, whether you need help with the English language, whether you need basic job skills, whether you need community college education, whether you need a vocational, technical background, that you can weave that all together and somebody can go to one place. I'm out of work. This is my situation. Have you done the research to find where there's a job in my region? And the Workforce Investment Board is going to have to look out of their city and town and across the region and get the research done for available resources to them to identify not just the jobs of today, but what do we project are going to be the jobs in the near future and the medium future out there, so that we understand what are those skills that are needed, all right, what is the education level that's needed, and who in our area can provide them, what college or community college or private vendor or labor group, apprenticeship, internship, and how do we weave it together for that person coming into it, whether they're a youth who's dropped out of school, whether you're a low-skilled adult, or whether you are somebody that is fairly high-skilled but been dumped out of a job. And that is the challenge before us, trying to do all of those things. Equalize people's benefits when they're out, make sure that it doesn't matter how they got out of work, try to find a way to give them all the skills they need, and be able to do that. And then, as Mr. Sora says, have it in a way that you get the credentials that you need so that you can continue to progress. And when you go back to work, if you want to go up the ladder, you find a way to go to school. And if it's part-time or some other interview, that you can still get assistance. A Pell Grant doesn't mean you just have to be an 18-year-old getting out of high school and going to college. It may mean that you're somewhat older, the non-traditional student working, but it's going to go back evenings or on Saturdays and take a couple of courses and cut some credits or whatever and still be able to get assistance, because as public policy, we decide this is what's necessary to build the strongest, most capable workforce that's out there. These are, I think, daunting challenges, but I don't think they're insurmountable, and I don't think they're impossible to do, not when I look at the talent that we have and that we can call on to get all the policy things right. I think it won't be perfect, but we shouldn't make that be the enemy of what can be a really, really good system, and one that we can fix as we go along. I don't ever remember any legislation that I've seen when reading history, or now that I've been here for a while experiencing it, that's been perfect. Too many compromises have to be made, too many interests are involved. But I do know that we can cite instances where, once it was on the books, we had constant improvement. And every time we saw a problem, we tried to make an adjustment, and people focused on it, and we moved forward on that basis. So I think that this is the path that we're on. I'm glad that I get to give the setup remarks here today and leave it all to Jane to fill in with all the details, just how we're going to meet all those challenges on that. But I think between the good people that are in the administration, the well-intentioned people and capable people in Congress, and all the staff, all of our think tanks and interested parties, academics and experts, we're going to find a way to do this, and we're going to do it right. And so I want to thank everybody that's involved in today's program. We'll be interested and looking forward to see what ideas come from that, and to look forward to working with you regularly and constantly on making sure that we meet this challenge. So good luck with your program today. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of it.